5 stops to make. Why don't you hang with me? I don't know. Yeah, you do. Yes. I thought you were a cool guy. I'm a cool guy. Oh, no! Threw a man out of the window. I didn't throw him. He fell. He's coming to kill you. Slow down. Collateral. Still breathing? Rated R. Starts Friday, August 6th.
What can I say about this movie, man? This is just such a great, great film. You have Jamie Foxx, who plays a Los Angeles cab driver who has this customer named Vincent, played by Tom Cruise. He's offering a high fare for driving to 5 different locations, and Max agrees, but he soon finds himself taken hostage by Vincent, who turns out to be a hitman on a contract killing spree. And, you know, one of the biggest selling points right off the bat is seeing Tom Cruise in a radically different role than we're used to seeing him in. In most movies, we see him playing the hero, but here he's playing a real bad guy in this, and he just plays it so well to the T. It's amazing he didn't get any awards consideration, because he was absolutely incredible in this movie. Jamie Foxx, I mean, this was the first movie from him where he kind of stepped out of the comedy territory and headed into more dramatic territory that he had very rarely had gone into. I think the last one he did was Any Given Sunday, but he might have been an Ali too. I can't remember for certain. I think he was an Ali as well, but this was a big year for him because it radically changed his career around, because after this, of course, he would do Ray, and he coincidentally got nominated for 2 Oscars for acting this year, including Best Actor for Ray, which he won, and Best Supporting Actor for this movie. And it's not hard to see why, man. He is fantastic in the movie. It's interesting because this movie had so many different people that could have made this movie so interesting in many different ways, shape, or form. Frank Darabont was attached at one point. They had Mimi Leader, who did Deep Impact. Janusz Kaczynski, who did the cinematography for a lot of Steven Spielberg movies, including Schindler's List. Fernando Morales, who did City of God. And then they had people like Russell Crowe and Adam Sandler at one point attached to star in it. And keep in mind, this is back when Adam Sandler was still a comedy draw and very rarely made dramas, and would have a drama in this year. So this would have been really, really different if he had taken this, and that film ended up happening. But the film we get is a fantastic film. It's also the first film for Michael Mann who used this high-definition camera called a Viper film stream, which he would use later on in his next movie, Miami Vice. And some might say it doesn't look that great, but I think it looks pretty good for what it's trying to do. I mean, it feels like a real scenario here, like you're there when it actually happens. It doesn't feel like a normal movie where it feels like it's a regular cinematography in general. Like, it does feel like you're watching somebody filming this off of their phone, like what I'm doing right now. It has that type of a feel to it, but the tension is very good. You got a great cast. It also includes Mark Ruffalo, Peter Berg, Javier Bardem, Bruce McGill, Jada Pinkett Smith, who's fantastic in the movie. There's a great moment towards the end of the movie when the third act begins where, like, Jamie Foxx is trying to warn her that Vincent is coming for her. It's a very tension-filled moment, and Tom Cruise, like I said, is absolutely terrifying in this movie. I mean, it's a great role that shows that he has a lot of range as an actor. I mean, this was a guy that was still at the top of his game, but like I said, he was mostly known for being a hero in a lot of these movies, but it's interesting to see him take on a role where he's playing the bad guy, and it's very well done. It's very tension-filled. It has a lot of great action sequences. The thrills are there. The tension is there. I mean, there's really not much more I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said already. It's a fantastic film. Easily one of the year's best movies. Easily one of Michael Mann's best movies. And he really needed it after he had a couple of movies that weren't really as successful. His Ali was a good movie, but it definitely had a lot of notable flaws to it. But Insider wasn't that great. But Heat, I think, was still his masterpiece. And this is definitely a close second for his best film overall. It's a terrific film. I can't recommend it enough. If you have not seen Collateral, get off your ass and go see Collateral, because it's a film that definitely deserves your full attentions, and it's definitely worth it. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that's Brittany Murphy, along with Holly Hunter and Ron Livingston, as well as Juliana Nicholson and Rashida Jones in early film roles in Little Black Book.
Have you ever been uncertain in a relationship?
Stacy.
Derek.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, ditto.
I really, really like him, Mom.
Don't commit yourself unless you are absolutely certain.
And though things seem great professionally,
Meet our new associate producer, Stacy Hoyt.
Holt.
Whatever.
there's still a few doubts at home. Lulu?
To Super Mario.
We dated a little. I told you that, didn't I?
Let me think. No.
Have you ever gone too far?
Look, a box.
Be honest. Have you ever been tempted to look?
Look under the hood before you purchase the car.
Stace, listen, I left my palm at home.
Huh?
Stacy was. Now, with the help of her co-workers,
Little black books, electronic footprints of where your man has been and with whom.
she'll research his past
Hello, Lulu Fritz. We'd like you to come in tomorrow for an interview.
to be certain about their future.
So tell me about one of the early guys.
Oh, say, Derek.
It was completely about sex.
Sex.
I just used him for, we know. I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Keys, please. I've never been with a podiatrist before. He was a gynecologist. Comfy? Super. Thanks. Oh my god. There's so many. You could have a sister named Joyce who he French kisses and licks.
Oh, no.
You know, I probably should have seen that coming 20 years ago when I saw this movie. This was the film I was talking about, where, for the most part, the movie isn't bad. It's when the movie comes to the big climax at the end, the twist ending that they have in here, which is, I'll get to it later on, but it will make you hate this movie. Even if you're liking it like I did, it will make you hate it when it's all said and done. Anyway, you have Brittany Murphy has an associate producer for a daytime talk show who's confounded by her boyfriend's unwillingness to talk about his previous relationships. He's played by Ron Livingston. Egged on by her co-worker, played by Holly Hunter, she decides to sneak a look at his personal digital organizer, scores the name and numbers of his exes, and sets up interviews with them, all in an effort to get closer to her man. Her plan starts to unravel, however, when she becomes friends with one of the women involved. And, like I said, there's a lot of notable talent in this movie. Not just Brittany Murphy and Holly Hunter and Ron Livingston, but Kathy Bates, Stephen Tobolowsky, Juliana Nicholson, Rashida Jones, Josie Moran, Sharon Lawrence, Yvette Nicole Brown, Kevin Sussman, of course, from The Big Bang Theory. Who did he play? Stewart from The Big Bang Theory. He was also on Ugly Betty, too. I didn't know that. And Carly Simon has a cameo, too, which is funny because the trailer for this actually plays her song from Working Girl within the trailer, which I think this was trying to do so hard to try to copy that success in general. And like I said, for the most part, the movie isn't bad in general. It just really wasn't that funny in general. It's just kind of a film that's just very much one note and just feels like it's wasting a lot of its talent because there is a lot of really good talent in this movie. Like Brittany Murphy, I've talked about her long enough. I mean, I've seen her in movies where she can be really good as an actress. You know, Just Married, Uptown Girls, 8 Mile, the Happy Feet movies where first Happy Feet movie. I mean, she is a really good actress in general, but she did pick some really bad movies. This is probably one of the big ones where it's just like her career really started to kind of tank after this point. Like Holly Hunter, I feel like deserves better than this. I mean, she won an Academy Award for God's sake. So does Kathy Bates, and half these people in this movie. And like I said, the movie could just be a forgettable one-note film. But no. This movie can't do that, no. We have to take this movie to the next level of stupidity and ridiculousness. The film is perfectly fine until the third act of the film, the big climax where everything gets revealed. Like, you know, Kathy Bates is the talk show host, and the producers basically push Brittany Murphy's character onto the stage, discovering that her investigations into Derek's past are the subject matter of the show, and that Holly Hunter basically orchestrated the whole thing and invited everybody on there, and it's nothing but watching Brittany Murphy be embarrassed in front of a national television audience, and they eventually break up. And then it's just like, you know, hey, that's just this, and the way the movie does it's just like, that's just life. Like, you have to be. It's just like, I was furious when I saw this movie the first time. I just could not believe that they went to this low of a route to create an ending that is so mean-spirited and so unpleasant and so unfunny that it just completely ruined anything that I found of worthiness before we got to that point. I mean, it's a bad ending. It's like what I said with Hope Floats. Like, there was a time when movies would do this, where they'd have these talk shows that are just be the focal point of the storyline here, and what's the appeal? Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't find the appeal of this. And in Hope Floats, it's supposed to drive the story along here, but this, it's just a stupid way to end the film by doing the same stupid romantic comedy tropes. It's not funny. It's not clever. It's not satirical. It just feels like a movie where everybody has betrayed this main character for the sake of creating entertainment, and it's just like it's baffling. It's absolutely baffling how bad this ending is. It really ruined any kind of enjoyment, anything I had that was seen as somewhat likable about this movie. Took it completely out the window, and I was just kind of like, fuck this movie, man. Like, this is a movie that I hated so much. I really do hate this movie so much, specifically for how it ended. What that whole thing was building up towards. Like, it's despicable how bad this ending is, and how just tasteless, how pointless it is, how just, it's a complete betrayal of everything that had been built up for it. All of her friends in this bit is that she had before this, no, all out the window. Like she was a pawn. She was a pawn in something, and it's not funny. It's not clever. It's not hilarious. It's just like, no, she's supposed to sit there and just take it all in because, that's just the way of business. And it's just like, no, it's stupidity. It's a terrible way to end your movie. And these people who wrote and directed this movie have never made anything of noteworthiness whatsoever. This director has done nothing of noteworthiness, and this is probably his biggest movie in general because he's got a major studio behind him. And guess what? Hasn't done anything of noteworthiness since then. Did one other movie that went straight to DVD. These writers have never done anything of importance since then. Melissa Carter and Melissa Bell, I'm sorry, I hate this ending. I hate this ending so much. It ruined any kind of sense of anything that I could have found that was at least tolerable about this movie, and just threw it completely out the window. And it was just like, it's just such an inexcusable way to end a movie. I mean, I hate these type of movies. I hate these type of films where you take something that could have worked and was just barely chugging along, and then this happens, and then that train was just immediately falling off the cliff and just crashing into the ravine. It's like in Back to the Future Part 3. The movie was just coasting along on the train, and then as soon as the DeLorean went back in time, and the third act comes up, the train goes up. That's when the train goes off the cliff and just explodes, and just there's nothing of value left to it afterwards. I mean, yeah, congratulations. You just wasted everybody's hour and a half by just doing that. It's just, I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. Like, it's amazing how much of a 360 turn this movie takes in just the last 30 minutes. It's, like, I really don't have any other words to say about it. Like, I feel like Madeline Kahn in the movie Clue, when she's like, I hated her so much, and she just kept going like flames on the side of my face. Like, she's so flabbergasted and so mad and just can't get the words out. That's how I feel about this whole movie in general. Like, it started off just barely chugging along, and then falls off the cliff is in the final 30 minutes, and just everything that was of value beforehand is just gone at this point. This is absolutely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's amazing this wasn't in my top 30 worst movies list, but I checked, and no, it's pretty much up there, but yeah, it's definitely one of the worst comedies I've ever seen, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Bar none, I absolutely hate this movie so much. Bar none. So yeah, that is a Little Black Book. So let's go ahead and get to the third film in the sandwich, where we've got two really good movies and then the piece of shit that's Little Black Book. Here's Open Water.
Other people go on vacations and spend their days just laying around. We have a story we're going to be telling for the rest of our lives.
Daniel, where's the boat?
That's a good question.
And we're stuck in the middle of the ocean. Oh, God. Oh.
It's okay. It's okay. This can't be happening. Susan! Susan! Something against my foot.
dead. I mean, that's pretty much the universal sign that you're dead at this point. Well, technically, one person dies in this, but I'm not going to say who. But Open Water. This is a story that this was a movie that, as you can tell, they were trying to market this kind of to be the next Blair Witch Project, which was essentially released by Lionsgate. I mean, back then they were Artisan Entertainment, but they were essentially Lionsgate. But unlike that movie, it wasn't doing the whole thing where it's just like, is it real or is it fake? Now, this is pretty much a movie that is seen as kind of fake, but also can be seen as probably one of the first real examples of found footage films, proving there's some valuable life to them. And in this movie in particular, you have a story where you've got an American couple who go scuba diving while on vacation, only to find themselves stranded miles from shore in shark-filled waters when the crew of the boat accidentally leaves them behind. This is actually based off of a true story, loosely based on a true story, where you had this couple, Tom and Eileen Lonergan, who in 1998 went out for a scuba diving group, the Outer Edge Dive Company of the Great Barrier Reef, and were accidentally left behind because the dive boat crew failed to take an accurate head count. And let me see if they actually survived this or not. I don't think they did, but no, they essentially disappeared on that day. They were never heard from again, and that's pretty terrifying, man. Like, you're supposed to, but like that's just. I mean, we can accept this kind of stuff in like a comedy like Home Alone. You know, hey, it's funny that the kid is left behind at home because when the kid was supposed to when the oldest daughter is supposed to do a head count, you see somebody in the back and you think that's just Kevin right there. But no, in a comedy that works. But in real life, that's fucking terrifying, man. And like, it's just, I mean, that's the beauty of this movie, man. Like, it's just a terrifying experience. Like, it's like a nightmare you're watching when you watch this movie for the first time, because keep in mind, this is back when no one had cell phones. This is back when nobody had any way to like connect. Well, nobody had cell phones that could actually work in water, is what I'm trying to say. We did have cell phones, but they were certainly not like the ones we have now. But they are much different. But I mean, these were ones where you can't use them in water because they'll get wet and they don't usually work. And yeah, so they're pretty much stuck there, and they have no idea if they're going to survive this whole thing. And yeah, when you're stuck in shark-infested waters with a thunderstorm with thunderstorms that keep coming up, and it's dark and you have no idea what's literally around you, that is indeed legitimately terrifying. It's like, it's a really good movie that really is something that does keep you on the edge of your seat. Like, you're trying to figure out what's going to happen with these two people, and like I said, one of them dies, but it's just, yeah, it's very tense and terrifying at times. Like, it really does get scary when you're watching this and they're saying there's something around my leg. It's just like, what the hell is it? Like, what the hell is it? Like you'd be like that too if you were in that situation in general. And it's just, it really is an intense, terrifying film that did manage to work as well as it did with this first film. Of course, they had to ruin it because it was a big success, and as soon as Lionsgate saw that, you know what they said? Make sequels! And of course, we got all these different sequels because they're killer shark movies, and shark movies in general will sell even the worst ones. I mean, you go to Walmart, there's like, I'll bet you right now, there's like 15 to 20 different shark movies available in the DVD section, but they will sell because there is an audience that will buy those shark movies. I know some of those people that will buy shark movies. I mean, there is an audience for them, so it makes sense why they made sequels, but needless to say, the sequels were nowhere near as good as this film, because this film was at least trying to do something kind of revolutionary at the time. Blair Witch Project kind of began the first real... Blair Witch Project was one of the first real successors of the found footage genre. Nobody really tried to take a chance with it. Open Water, I think, was like the first real chance to try to do another found footage film that was very similar to Blair Witch. And it succeeded very well. It was a really good film. It was a very tension-filled movie. It wasn't trying to like have this big conspiracy about whether or not it was real or not. You could kind of tell. You could tell it was pretty much a movie. But it's a really good film in general. The actors are really good. Blanchard Ryan and Daniel Travis, I think, are very good playing the two people who are essentially stuck in the middle of this. In the middle of this, and the best thing about the real thing that really made me realize that how good this movie was, and I just remembered it from here, they used live sharks for this. This wasn't like Jaws or Deep Blue Sea where they would use mechanical sharks or deep computer generated ones. No. They went out and went to use real live sharks. So yeah, they were really playing with the devil on this one, and they didn't get them, but could have been really, really disastrous if they ended up being the case. But yeah, it's a really damn good movie. It's a really good tension-filled movie. What more can I say, man? Open Water is a really good film. I highly recommend checking it out. Fun fact, whoever wins, we loses is also the official tagline for the 2024 election for some people. I've been waiting to use that. I've been waiting to get to this movie so I can actually say that, but of course that has now changed in the last week if you have been following the news. But we're not here to talk about politics. We're here to talk about Alien vs. Predator. Paul W.S. Anderson's film after he made Resident Evil. Film that is essentially, it is what it says, Alien vs. Predator, where you have a group of scientists caught in the crossfire of an ancient battle between aliens and predators as they attempt to escape a bygone period. This was a concept that was originated in a 1989 comic book, and Predator 2 actually was the first movie to cement the idea that aliens and predators exist in the same universe. And so the demand has been for so many years for these two crossover franchises to cross over and meet. And now here we are in 2004, and I will be honest with you, when I first saw this movie the first time around, I really didn't like it. I think a lot of people really didn't like it either because it just felt like a film that was just not delivering what it was promising. It was PG-13, you know, instead of doing it R. Like, at least Freddy vs. Jason was rated R. But this, yeah, this was a movie that disappointed a lot of people when it came out. Still made money. I mean, it was a hit when it came out. But 20 years later, all things considered, I actually like this movie a lot better than I thought I was going to remember it. Now, don't get me wrong. It has a lot of flaws to it, and most of it is with the human characters. A majority of the human characters that, yeah, if you've seen all the other Alien movies, the not good Alien movies, you know exactly what the problem with this movie is. The characters that are in here are mostly just stock characters that have no reason to be here whatsoever except to be the characters that are basically the meat for the two people you want, for the two creatures you want to see in this movie. And yes, when they're on screen, the movie is absolutely terrible. And for the majority of the movie, it is pretty terrible. But then when it's just the alien and the predator, and all the other characters are taken out, with the exception of Sanaa Lathan, the movie gets really, really good. And I was actually really surprised at that, because I thought for the longest period of time, nothing of value of this movie was going to be worth it in the long run. But then, once everybody gets killed off, and it's just Sanaa Lathan, it's Sanaa Lathan just working with this predator, as facing off the aliens, that's when the movie gets so much more interesting, because the dialogue goes away, a lot of the dialogue goes away, everybody's quiet, everything happens throughout much of a script, like I said, dialogue in general, and the movie just gets so much more interesting and much more engaging. Like, if the rest of the movie had been like that, if it was just one person with these creatures, this movie would have been something really, really spectacular. But no, you have to wait through a good chunk of the movie to get to the really good stuff. And the really good stuff really is good. But unfortunately, you've got a huge chunk of movie beforehand where you have to deal with these idiotic characters that you know are going to die. You know they're just not characters that are anything of value whatsoever except to be the main course for these creatures. And yeah, we got to have all the references thrown in there. We've got to have all the... But when the alien and predator do show up and actually fight, it's a pretty badass fight. I mean, there's a lot of fun ideas when it's not the alien, when it's not the human characters, the bad human characters. The movie is really damn good. When it is, it's about as bad as you think it is. So it's definitely a very mixed bag movie, but I found that to be more enjoyable nowadays than I did back in the day. I think once you get all the other characters out of here, and it's just Sanaa Lathan and the Predator going up against the alien, that's when the movie gets really, really good. And it's really some of the best stuff Paul W.S. Anderson has ever directed as a whole. But, yeah, like I said, you got to sit through a lot of really, really bad stuff before that to really get to the good stuff. But when it does, it's definitely worth it in the end. So I do kind of recommend it. Just power through the first maybe 45 minutes of the movie, and then when all the other characters are dead and it's just Sanaa Lathan and the Predator, and them going up against the alien, that's when the movie gets really, really good, and that's the part I would recommend. So, yeah, definitely a very polarizing review. Like I said, first half's pretty bad, second half, really, really damn good. I do recommend the second half more than I do the first half. But, yeah, if you can power through it, it's definitely worth it when it's all said and done. So. Okay, so that's Alien vs. Predator. Now let's go ahead and move on to another sequel that came out this weekend, and that is The Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement.
Look out the window and welcome to Genovia.
To Princess Mia's 21st birthday.
Mia Thermopolis has everything a girl could ever want.
I have my own mall. I'm glad you like it. This is so cool.
Except the one thing she's always dreamed of.
I'm ready for a romantic fairy tale life.
But destiny is going to give her a push in the right direction.
If Princess Mia is not married in 30 days, she forfeits this throne of Genovia to young Lord Deborah.
Shut up. Never said shut up. Shut up.
Get it? Because Anne Hathaway did it in the first movie, and now it's Julie Andrews doing it in the sequel. That's not really funny. You want some more stuff that's not really funny, but they think it's funny? Here's this.
Unless she can do the impossible.
How could Paramount expect me to fall in love in 30 days? Why don't we find out what kind of candidates are out there? Too old. Too young. Prince William. I absolutely accept. He's not eligible. I just love to look at him. Me too.
See, if Mia wasn't a princess, she could have ended up with Prince William. I mean, look what happened with Kate Middleton. And, yeah. And, of course, you know, Julie Andrews has got to be thirsting for... Mary Poppins has got to be thirsting for Prince William, too. But, Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement. This is about as typical of a comedy sequel as you can get, where you have... the story that is not based on the books like the first movie was. Before she can succeed her grandmother as the Queen of Genovia, Mia, once again played by Anne Hathaway, learns that she must marry or else relinquish the throne. Of course, she's got to do it in 30 days, and because that's the Disney Princess formula. And yeah, this is a pretty bad movie, and I think you can tell right from the bat because it's written by Shonda Rhimes, who. Yeah, she's a prolific television producer, writer, creator. I mean, she's the person behind Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, Bridgerton. But yeah, this is about as pretty lame of a comedy sequel as you can get. I mean, this is a movie that is literally rehashing the same plot as the first movie, except this time she's in it. She's now the prince. It's like the whole movie seems kind of pointless now. The whole last movie seems really pointless because, you know, they make a whole deal about the first movie being the fact that she's going to be this future Queen of Genovia, and now it's just like, no, we now have this flaw in here where now you have to get married or else you're not going to get the throne. And if that was the worst thing about the movie, then I could just let it slide, but man, their attempts at jokes in this are absolutely horrible. Nostalgia Critic, I think, did an excellent review of this that really, really shows what's all wrong with this movie, because there is a lot that's wrong with this film. The movie is not funny, it's not clever. Julie Andrews and Anne Hathaway, as much as they're trying to do to save as much of the charm in this movie as there was in the first film, they can't do it with a script as bad as this, and it just gets lazy comedy. It's lazy, like I said, lazy comedy, lazy attempts to try to be anything clever or unique, and it's a mess. It's a mess of a film in general. The first movie I thought was fine for what it was, but this just felt like they were really pushing their luck with it, and they've been talking about doing a third one for years now. Of course, Gary Marshall's no longer with us, so I think that's one thing that's going to go against the movie. Plus, it's way too late to do another Princess Diaries sequel at this point. I know we're in this trend of legacy sequels and comedy sequels way past their prime, but there's really nothing else you can do with this storyline after all these years. I mean, but they're still trying to put it together. I guess Disney is still trying to put it together at this point, while they're also working on The Devil Wears Prada 2, which is another movie with Anne Hathaway in it. But I don't know. I just didn't find this one as interesting. It's another typical comedy sequel that's not as good as the first movie, and this one doesn't even try to be clever or funny whatsoever. At least in my opinion, it didn't. So yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie.
this summer. Monsters you've never seen before will be brought to life, more powerful than ever. And the battle for the fate of the future will be here. Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie.
This is more than just a duel.
Yugi must face the mysteries of his past.
The time has come, my minions. Arise and conquer.
The secrets of his alter ego.
Yugi, we've only got one chance left.
And his most powerful adversary.
I've waited 5,000 years for revenge.
Could this be the final duel?
Nope. It was not the final duel. The show is still going on the air 26 years later, over 1,100 episodes, 7 movies. So yeah, this was not the final duel as they were trying to get you to believe it was. But this is Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie. This is Warner Brothers trying to recreate the success of Pokemon, the first movie, and now they didn't have Pokemon anymore. And even by then, Pokemon was really Pokemon was really of an old deal at that point before it eventually rose back up again. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one of those fads that came and went, kind of like with the Digimon fad. And I went to go see this movie in a theater, and I think my biggest mistake going into that movie was the fact that I never saw an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Before, and going into that theater, going into the movie thinking that I was going to know everything I need to know from this. No. If you were a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, you'd probably find this movie much better than it actually is. But even then, it didn't help. It didn't help the fact that this film was both a critical and financial failure. Even the fans of the TV series that were watching the show at the time looked at this and said, "No, this isn't worth it." So in the movie, you have Yu-Gi-Oh!, who's a small and average high school student and an easy target for bullies, is given an ancient Egyptian riddle called the Millennium Puzzle by his grandfather, a local game shop manager. Yugi puts the pieces together and unexpectedly becomes the powerful Game King. Now when Yugi gets into sticky situations, the Game King takes over and protects Yugi and his friends. And this movie is really not that engaging whatsoever. Like I said, maybe if you were a fan of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, maybe you could find some value to it, but me personally, I went to see this in theaters on the weekend it came out, mostly because I saw it the same day as Little Black Book, which I did not like, and so I went to go see this, so I went to go see this movie after that, and yeah, I may have liked it back then, but now it's 20 years later, and I finally have seen it again. Yeah, it's really not that good of a movie. In fact, it's really, really terrible. And like I said, it's a movie that's literally trying to rehash everything that made the Pokemon movies so successful at Warner Brothers. They have the soundtrack with the big names on there, like the Black Eyed Peas is like the big name that's in the soundtrack. But yeah, and the problem with it is it's really hard to distance this from Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon, because these creatures that you see in the trailer, they literally look like creatures you would see in Digimon Digital Monsters. Like, I was really looking at this and thinking, wait, did I get these movies confused or something? Was there another Digimon movie when it came out? But no, these creatures look exactly like they do in the Digimon universe. Like, it's hard not to see that. There's one character that literally looks like one of the characters that Gatomon turns into at one point. I mean, it's so confusing. It's so incredibly lackluster, and the movie is really, really boring. Like, it's a really, really big, dull movie that you could just tell. It's one of those examples of, back when the Rugrats movie was the big success, how everybody was trying to cash in on the success of that and just, do movies like, bring the Wild Thornberrys to the big screen, bring Hey Arnold to the big screen. This is one of those movies and this is more like a movie like Doug's First Movie and Hey Arnold the movie, where there was literally nothing about this that makes this cinematic whatsoever. Nothing about this is grand and cinematic. Even the Pokemon movies at this time were at least cinematic and more on an epic scale compared to the TV show. This literally feels like a movie that they literally took off of television, plastered it on the big screen, and put a little glare on it to give it a look like it was made entirely for the big screen, when it really was not. And yeah. Like I said, even if you were a fan of the show, most people that I know who were fans of the show at the time really didn't like this movie when it came out, and like I said, it quickly came and went. It doesn't help that the movie was released in August, which is usually a bad time to release a family film, or at least it was back then, because all the kids are going back to school at that point. But yeah, needless to say, this movie has not held up well over time. It's definitely gotten a lot worse than I remembered it. It's just really not a good movie in general. It's a film that is really boring. It's really unimpressive. The creatures in this, the monsters in here look exactly like characters from another franchise altogether. There's nothing about this that really distances itself from other franchises. It feels like just another one of those imports that were trying to copy the same success that Pokemon became. I mean, Kids WB was notorious for doing stuff like this at the time, not just with Yu-Gi-Oh, but, you know, stuff like Card Captors, and there was also Hamtaro, and you know, Digimon. You know, Fox was one of those ones when 4Kids took that over. I mean, this was the thing back then, and this was just when it was just anime overload. And it just really just completely just misses the mark altogether on entertainment value. And even for like the biggest fans of the show, even they were let down by this movie when it came out. And excuse me, but it's just not a very good film. It's just a really lackluster film. I didn't notice it back then, but I just wanted to get my mind off a Little Black Book because, like I said, I saw that the same day as this, and at the time, I thought it was slightly better. Now, it's kind of like comparing peaches. It's kind of like comparing apples and oranges. They're just kind of the same thing. I literally had to pause so I can remember what that meaning was, and I apologize for that. But I said what I said, and I'm sticking by it. So that's Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie.
On August 20th.
Is there someone inside you?
Yes.
Go back before the story you know. Father Merritt. I know her name. And witness.
He will seek to poison your mind.
A new chapter of evil.
For the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Unclean spirit, I cast you out!
Exorcist, the beginning. Rated R. Starts August 20th.
Stellan Skarsgård running nude in the Avengers movie looks more dignified than this film. Think about that for a second. I'll wait. The Exorcist, the beginning. You have, like I said, Stellan Skarsgård, who plays Father Lancaster Merrin, whose faith has been renounced after his experience in World War II, as he works as an archaeologist and discovers dark occurrences while excavating in Kenya. This is a prequel, like I said, to The Exorcist. It's actually the fourth in the series, and the first one produced by, second one produced by Morgan Creek, who did Exorcist 3. But this has an interesting story in the fact that this film was basically retooled from an already finished project. Paul Schrader's Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, which won't come out until next summer. But Morgan Creek basically said that they thought the film would be unsuccessful, so they basically had to rewrite the script, and it was basically made into a totally different movie, and the end result is this piece of garbage. Dominion, the prequel to The Exorcist, I will say this, is definitely the better of the two films, but is it a good movie? Not so much. This one is just a film that I feel like is really trying way too hard to capture the zeitgeist and the spirit of the original Exorcist movies. Even with something like Exorcist 3, which was a nice return to form for the Exorcist series, still I think it's the best Exorcist movie that we've had. It's just nothing compares to the original Exorcist. The original Exorcist is such a classic horror movie with scenes that are just still so intense and terrifying. Even all these years later, 50-plus years later, that movie still works on so many levels. This does not. This is Rennie Harlan who directed this movie, a director who used to be possibly very profitable and very powerful as a director, and then he really kind of shit the bed with movies like this. And then he did The Covenant, he did 12 Rounds with John Cena, the Bad Legend of Hercules movie from 2014, and now his most recent film, The Strangers trilogy, because we needed a reboot. We need not only a reboot of The Strangers, but a reboot trilogy of The Strangers. And yeah, like I said, it's pretty much everything everything wrong with this director as a whole. Started off so promisingly with stuff like Cliffhanger, Die Hard 2, The Long Kiss Goodnight, and now it's just becoming this regurgitated garbage. And this is one of the films that really began the inevitable downfall of this director as a whole. And you know, Stellan Skarsgård, of course, has gone on to become a much more beloved actor even after a movie like this. But the film is just really lackluster. It doesn't have anything scary in it. It's pretty generic. It's nothing intense or terrifying. It's stuff that we've seen done over and over and over again in these Exorcist movies, and it just, that shit gets old really, really fast. And it's definitely a film that gets really, really old really, really fast. So yeah, that is Exorcist: The Beginning. How about we have a movie that I personally kind of enjoy? We have Dax Shepard, Matthew Lillard, and Seth Green in Without a Paddle.
Trip without beer.
Well, it's still a camping trip, actually. Less vomiting.
This summer. Pretty thick country up there.
Hey, look at deer.
You're invited to experience the sights,
Insane hillbillies.
how you love me now, boy? The sound.
Don't let them smell your fear.
And the beautiful cleaner
I'm all natural.
of the great outdoors. Without a Paddle. Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, August 18th.
Seemed like in the 2000s, every bear wanted to fuck Seth Green because he would face not even a bear, and animals in general, because in this movie it's a bear. In Old Dogs it was a gorilla that wanted to bang Seth Green. I mean, but comparing that movie to this movie, this one is Citizen Kane compared to that one. But Without a Paddle, you got the story of three reunited childhood friends, Seth Green, Matthew Lillard, Dax Shepard, who go on a trip to up a remote river in order to search for the loot of long-lost airplane hijacker D.B. Cooper. And you also have a cast that includes Ethan Suplee, Abraham Ben-Ruby, Rachel Blanchard, Christina Moore, Bonnie Somerville, and most notably Burt Reynolds. And it was a hit when it came out, and even though it didn't get the best reviews overall, I thought it was alright for what it was. It's no great comedy like the ones we've already had this year. It's more in the lines of something like an Envy, or something like, what was the other comedy that came out this year that wasn't that great, but I did still enjoy it. I can't remember it. I could have sworn I talked about it recently, but this is one of those movies where you kind of have to go into it knowing what you're going to get. What you think is going to happen in a film like this is indeed going to happen, but they've got three very good, charismatic, funny leads with Green, Lillard, and Shepard, and a good supporting cast. I think Burt Reynolds overall really is very funny in the film. Not all the jokes work in general, but the idea of them going out into the not even the jungles, but in the forest, if you will, and traveling up this river, it does lead to some really good, funny comedic elements to it. I like the scene with the two hippie chicks. You know, one of them has that scene in the trailer where she's talking about, she's all natural and got all the hair and all that. That stuff's kind of funny, and like sometimes the jokes can work, other times not so much. It's very 50-50 at times. There is some homoeroticism, like the scene from the trailer where, there's like our only chance is to warm up, and Matthew Lillard's like, I for one choose death, and you hear like the song I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind, and then it's just like, this never leaves the cave. Like stuff like that gets pretty old pretty fast, and it's not prevalent all the way through the movie, but when it happens, it really just kind of goes like, okay, this is kind of what I've expected the movie to be like. But like I said, it's very rare that happens. And the movie overall is a very enjoyable film. It can be very funny at times. It can be really silly and over the top at times. But it knows what it's trying to be. It's not going for anything too grand or spectacular. And like I said, it's not trying to be like some of the great comedies we've had in this year already. It's not trying to be a frat pack movie where you have stuff. We've had stuff like Anchorman, Starsky and Hutch, Dodgeball. Like those are great comedies. Harold and Kumar. Even though it's not a frat pack movie, maybe that's the one I'm thinking. No, that's not the one I'm thinking of, but I'm thinking of one that I can't remember what it was. I think it was already out of theaters at this point, but bottom line here, Without a Paddle, if you go into it knowing exactly what you're going to get into and just go in there and have a good time with it, I think you can have a good time with it. It can be very funny, it can be very silly, it can be over the top, and it works for the most part. If you're looking for something a little bit more than that, then I'd say skip it, but me personally, I really enjoy this movie a lot. I think it is a ton of fun. So, let's go ahead and move on to our last film, and that is Benji Off the Leash.
Warning, adults have been known to enjoy this movie even more than their kids. This is big. Ted Bayer says this is an incredible story. Exciting, heartwarming, and entertaining.
Is that a fact?
This could be a big deal. Michael Medved says irresistible. Gannett newspapers, hilarious. The New York Post raves, if you want to raise humane, ethical kids, take them to see this movie.
If you think you could be a star.
Looks to me like he already is.
Leonard Maltin says, surefire family entertainment. I'm giving this film my hot vote. Benji Off the Leash, rated PG. Opens Friday.
I call bullshit on that. adults will like this more than kids. Well, when you have a bunch of quotes from critics who are adults, yeah, what do you think is gonna happen? But this movie's not made for adults. This is clearly made for kids, and it's another Benji movie. And all I can say is I just want Benji to go back to tricking wolves off of falling off of cliffs like in Benji the Hunted.
Of heart-pounding suspense.
Can we please get that Benji back, please? Can we get the ones where Jane Seymour wants to bang Benji? That is an actual movie that exists back in the day. Oh, Heavenly Dog. And, yeah, Chevy Chase turns into Benji, and Jane Seymour apparently wants to fuck the dog. And it's a really bizarre movie, and we'll eventually get to that one on Time About the Movie's Flashback when we get to the start of the 80s, but this is a much more family-friendly film. Benji Off the Leash, or Benji Returns Rags to Riches, which is not a good sign if you can't figure out the title of the damn movie, but in the film, 3 unlikely, unsuspecting souls who come face-to-face with that moment in their lives when they must stand and be counted. For Sheldon, it's difficult because he doesn't appear to be the brightest guy in the room, although he might be the funniest. For Colby, it might even be more difficult because he's only 14 years old and up against enormous odds. What are those enormous odds? Fuck you, we're not going to tell you. Come see it, kids. For Benji, it's almost impossible because, after all, he's just a dog. Lost and alone with nothing but a belligerent bird and a bungling stray mutt to help. A band of unlikely comrades brought together by the least likely bunch for a common, courageous purpose. Things will change, lives will be saved because Benji is off the leash. God, I wish I could get paid as much money as some of these people that have to put these synopses together. There really is nothing of value to this movie whatsoever. This is just... It's another Benji movie, and one that could have easily gone straight to DVD. There's no big names in the cast. The director is not a big name anymore. You know, and this was his last film he directed before he passed away, too. So, I mean, really, there is stuff that you can do with Benji as a whole. I mean, there are things that can be done with this character. Cross him over with Lassie, you know, one of the other great dog characters in film. You know, do something different. Do something unique with it. Don't do another movie like this where you're just making it because Benji is a name and you'll try to get as many people as you can to go see it. It just doesn't work here, and it's just, I hate to say it because Benji is not a bad dog character as a whole. It's just like he really is nothing that spectacular when he's in a movie where he's literally got nothing to do. I mean, have him do something special. I mean, make him like Air Bud. I mean, Air Bud at least did something other than just be the cute dog in there. Like, Air Bud plays sports. You know, Lassie saves people. Like, Benji just kicks people, and then he's considered a hero. I mean, like I said, go back to the days when Benji was literally throwing wolves off of a mountain.
Of heart-pounding suspense.
Somebody out there will go take Benji back to his roots, damn it. But yeah, for what this is, it's a Benji movie. It's nothing spectacular for someone like in my age group, but I guess for little kids, it's fine, I guess. It's completely harmless, but I want to show them something better than something that's just harmless. I mean, show them some much better movies than this. I mean, this is just a bad film. It's just nothing really that memorable to it whatsoever, and I'm sure there's a future for Benji out there somewhere, but not with movies like this. Only the second most popular Chinese wuxia film after Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This came out, it was actually made 2 years after that and released in China in 2002, but went to America about 2 years afterwards after Miramax grabbed the rights to it, and Quentin Tarantino eventually convinced the studio to open the film. And they should be happy that they did, because the film was a very big success. It was actually the first Chinese-language movie to top the American box office, and it stayed that way for 2 consecutive weeks. But then again, when you open on the weekend before Labor Day, not really much is going to compete with that. But in this film, you have the story here is that you have Jet Li in this movie as one man who single-handedly ensured the safety of the king by killing 3 of the most notorious assassins in the land of ancient China and the Qin Empire, who's out to conquer the 6 kingdoms. And essentially that makes the king the target for assassination. He's treated as a hero and is shown with an audience with this king, and it has some really good, gorgeous cinematography. This director would later go on to do House of Flying Daggers in the same year, and then they would do The Great Wall, which completely different styles of quality there, really. But it was a fantastic movie. So, like I said, the visuals are amazing to look at. The cinematography is top notch. When the action sequences take place, you feel the epicness and weight to the storyline. You have a great cast that includes Lee. You also have Zhang Ji from Memoirs of a Geisha, Donnie Yen, Tony Ling Chua from Shang-Chi, who you had seen Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings later. It's just a really good movie, man. A film that just really is massive to look at. It's a grand Chinese epic. I would say it's even more enjoyable than something like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Now, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is a great movie and has a lot of great visual style to it. It revolutionized the way people look at Chinese movies in general. But this film, I think, really took that to the next level. And it's one that I don't think gets as much attention as something like Crouching Tiger does. It has shots that are so memorable. Memorable, like the shots with all the arrows and the guy's looking up in the air and he sees all the arrows up there. Just a lot of really good shots in this movie in general. It's a really good film. Really, there's not much more I can add to it, per se. It's a film that I think is really, really good. Can't recommend it enough. It's easily the best thing to come out this weekend. Because what comes up after that? How about a pointless sequel? How about Anaconda's The Hunt for the Blood Orchid?
We're looking for the Blood Orchid. It holds the key to the Fountain of Youth, and it will make us rich.
Billionaires.
Yeah, baby.
We got problems. Holy.
Stop it. Ben?
Holy bloody hell. Anaconda.
This expedition is over.
I can't let you turn back now.
Anacondas. The Hunt for the Blood Orchid.
The sad part about it is that trailer there doesn't feature the end of the original longer trailer, which is, I think, one of the things that's most memorable about this particular movie.
Anacondas. The Hunt for the Blood Orchid.
It's mating season. You tell me there's some snake orgy out in the jungle?
And by memorable, I mean just adds more questions on whether or not this was actually meant to be taken seriously or not, because that trailer is just nothing but, it really does not sell this as a horror movie. It's more of a comedy, because everything about that trailer is just so over the top, so ridiculous, so stupid, and it's a perfect examination of the movie itself, because this is a sequel, of course, to Anaconda, but it's a standalone sequel, so nobody from the last movie is coming back for this sucker. Yeah, Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube, Owen Wilson, Jon Voight, they're all too good for this. Well, except for Jon Voight, which we'll get to a little bit later on in this episode, because he's in another terrible sequel by Sony Pictures this weekend. But in this movie, you have a team of researchers setting out on an expedition into the southeastern Asian tropical islands of Borneo to search for a sacred flower which they believe will bring humans to a longer and healthier life. They soon become stalked and hunted by the deadly giant anacondas inhabiting the island. And not as many notable names in this one, but names you'll probably be familiar with: Morris Chestnut, Katie Strickland, Sally Richardson. That's about it. I mean, like I said, the movie doesn't even know if it wants to be a straight-up horror movie or a comedy with how badly that trailer was put together. And again, people bought into it. Maybe it wasn't as successful as the original Anaconda, but it still made, almost over 3 times its budget. Even then, it looks so cheap. It looks so stupid. It looks so ridiculous. It was such a terribly put-together movie. The first one was at least so terrible it was good. Like, there was a lot of fun, ridiculous, over-the-top elements in that first movie. In this movie, there's none of that. There is none of that whatsoever. It's just a cheap, lousy, put-together movie that really has no effort to it whatsoever. And it's just... Did not like indeed. But like I said, it's definitely better than the other sequel that we'll get to just as soon as we get to our next movie, and that is Suspect Zero.
FBI trained him.
Drawing now.
To see through a killer's eyes.
They call it remote viewing.
We saw things men shouldn't see. But they never taught him.
Hey, Tom, what's going on?
This man is targeting serial killers.
How to stop.
Are you afraid?
Suspect Zero. Rated R. Starts August 27th. Only in theaters.
No, Ben Kingsley, we're not scared of you. In fact, the next movie after this is much scarier than anything you do in this movie. But you were one of the best things about this notoriously bad film. The story is that you have the hunt for Suspect Zero, a potential serial killer who is able to kill indefinitely because he is able to remain undetectable by law enforcement agencies. And it features various elements from the classified DIA Stargate remote viewing protocols. And, yeah, this is a pretty lousy movie. I mean, this is a film that is pretty much straightforward, a generic-ass political thriller, not psychological thriller, political thriller, but not the case with this film here. Aaron Eckhart and Carrie-Anne Moss are also in the film as well, but the film really doesn't feel like a movie that really is. It doesn't have a point to it. Like, some ideas I think could work. There's a good idea with this idea that you have a killer that basically cannot be stopped and finds ways to get away. Like, that could make for an interesting movie, but not in a movie like this, especially when it's been sitting on a shelf at Paramount for nearly 2 years. That should have been the red flag right from the get-go, and it's just not engaging whatsoever. It's very lackluster, it's boring, the mystery is not that interesting whatsoever. The only person that really is carrying the load here is Ben Kingsley, and like I said, it's not a movie that really is, it's not a movie that really is all that worth it. But, fun fact about this movie, this was actually based off of a first draft by Zach Penn, who, I kid you not, allegedly impressed Steven Spielberg so much in his depictions of serial killers elongating middle fingers that he went home and checked his child's hands. That's how this movie got made, and it was eventually sold to Universal, and then Tom Cruise came on board to produce it. This was all the way back in '97, by the way. And then they had all these different people involved in it. Sylvester Stallone was in at one point. Ben Affleck was going to rewrite the script, but he left the project. The guy who did The Art of War was originally attached to direct it, but he dropped out. If your movie's not good enough to have the director of The Art of War, then you really, really have a problem here. And yeah, not a very good movie. Bottom line. So. But, hey, let's be honest, any movie that I have shown you this week is much better than the atrocity that we're about to show you here, which is Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
America's favorite talking babies are back.
You are not the goddamn Rugrats.
It's me, Team, now.
On August 27th.
Spread the love.
Family adventure.
Give them.
Comes in small packages.
Why don't you pick on somebody half your size? What kind of milk you drinking?
Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
I like downstairs. Can a brother get some water? Get back to work.
Rated PG. You're invited to visit nickjr.com. In theaters August 27th.
This exists, people. Where do you even begin? Want to start with the lame jokes? Want to start with the bad CG? Want to start with the fact that this was directed by the guy that gave us two of the greatest comedies of the 1980s, Porky's and A Christmas Story. The fact that it's directed by I just said that it stars Jon Voight in a movie where he's literally Hitler. They'll come out and say it, but he's literally a caricature of Adolf Hitler. Start with the fact that somehow Nick Jr. got involved in this. They saw this and said, we got to put our name to this puppy. But just the thought of this movie just really hurts my head to think about it. This is, of course, the sequel to Baby Geniuses, because apparently it was popular enough to warrant a sequel 5 years later, at a time when nobody really gave a shit about the original Baby Geniuses. But following the events of the first film, 4 babies can communicate with each other using baby talk and have knowledge of many secrets. The baby geniuses become involved in a scheme by media mogul Bill Biscayne, later revealed to be known as Kane, played by Jon Voight, who kidnaps children everywhere. Helping the geniuses is legendary super baby named Kahuna, who stops Biscayne's plots and saves children from being kidnapped by Biscayne and his minions. He joins up with several other babies in an attempt to stop Biscayne, who intends to use a state-of-the-art satellite system to control the world's population by brainwashing them and forcing people to not be active and watch TV for the rest of their lives. I couldn't even get through that. My brain is just scrambling just by reading that synopsis. But it's okay though. I mean, who else is the biggest star in this movie besides Jon Voight? Scott Baio, Vanessa Angel, that dude from Dragon Ball Evolution. God, this is bad. This is really, really bad. I mean, this was when Bob Clark was taking all that reputation he had in the 70s and 80s and just crashing it down. What's a better example? Imagine that this football right here is Bob Clark at the peak of his career and everything that he had done beforehand. This was him at this point later on in life. Is that enough for you? Is that enough for you guys? I honestly could have used this as an example, but this is much heavier and will make a lot more noise, and it's 1:30 in the morning as I'm recording this, but you get the point. I don't even need to tell you anything more about this movie, except the fact that it's a terrible movie, it has poor CG effects, it has really bad comedy, it has people that should know much better than to star in a movie like this. It's a movie that nobody gave a crap about. It's been known as one of the worst movies of all time, panned by critics, panned by audiences. This thing didn't even make back its $20 million budget. This is what a $20 million budgeted movie looks like. And it couldn't even do that. It couldn't even make back half that money. It's a bad movie. It's a really bad movie. And yet, they still made 3 more of these for direct-to-video. You're not the Land... Forget about being the Rugrats. You're not the Land Before Time. You're not Scooby-Doo. You're not Tom and Jerry. You're not this franchise that people love so much that that you have to keep making sequels. Nobody gave a crap about this after the first movie. This is... Do I have to say any more? Do I really need to say any more? It's Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2. What more did you expect from it?